Yeah. And a day before yesterday afternoon, I got back from the hospital,
Okay.
and I'm trying today, this evening, step by step,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
to
And a
to
day
get
before yesterday.
to get into the meetings.
Yeah, try to, be careful. And broken bones is like it takes so long for them to heal and not to have pain.
Right, right. Very, very painful.
So you have to be very, very patient, I think, and just talk to people who then, when you start to get somehow despair, because me also, I thought, like at one point I thought this is never going to go away, that pain, after 6 months. And then somebody told me, oh, for me it took a year. And then I was calm because I knew that okay, it's normal to have pain for a long time, so it will go away, so have confidence. And then it was a bit better. But I had moments when I thought, like, gosh, I'll have to live with this pain for the rest of my life. But then it went away.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy experience. It's not easy, I must admit.
Yeah, and of course, because whatever it is, be it legs, be it hands, be it arms, be it shoulders, you're very limited in what we are used to do, and we need to depend on others. And then all of a sudden, we start to notice the world, the way the world is. The world is not like this self-arisen. I mean, human beings have made this world with cars and bicycles, and how we cook, and now we computers. And then we notice this is only made for people who have two good legs and two good arms.
Right. You're so right. You're so right. One is so painful.
Yeah,
Second, I'm so dependent on others. I
exactly.
can do anything by myself, anything.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah. So it's interesting to see, because I had both. I had arms and I had also legs, but
wow.
not at the same time. Huh? And then I was thinking, what is better, arms or legs? And I still thought like having healthy legs is still good, because I like to walk and I like to go places.
Right, right.
Yeah. So I hope you will recover as soon as possible. And yeah, what can we do? We'll
Thank
just,
you.
we send you lots of good wishes.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Tom.
So, Anila, I just because I see some new faces, I'd like to do
Yeah, I
introductions.
see also some new faces.
So I would like to welcome the newcomers, Daniela and Hardy.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Mhm.
Welcome to our class about Shantideva's book, A Guide to the Way Life of the Bodhisattva, the chapter 6 on patience. I would just say I welcome you, and I welcome everyone else, all the more the how do you say people come here more often. Well, I welcome all of you, and also welcome Anne Losang, our teacher, resident teacher.
Resident, yeah. Right. A resident Zoom teacher. That's very
Indeed,
nice.
yes. So I would just say a few introductory words. First of all, this session is recorded to YouTube Live on the Dharma Friends Israel YouTube page, and you can see that movie and this course and other courses every time, all the time, whenever you want. So you are very welcome to do so. Also, I see that you open your camera. This is very good, and we like to. This is an open discussion group, and we like to see people's faces. So it's good to see your faces as well. Also, I would say that this course, like all other activities of the Dharma Friends of Israel, is voluntary and is conducted voluntarily. And so, if you would like to contribute to our activity via Dana, then I will post right here on the chat the information on how to do so. Also, there's my personal email, so you can contact me if you have any questions, any remarks. You're more than welcome to do so. And with that note, I would say thank you very, very much, Anina, for coming week after week and teaching us. And this is very valuable, and we are looking forward to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Tom. So yeah, as Tom said, for those people who are new, I think it's Hartmut or Hardy and Daniela. So this is not so much of a teaching, it's more of a discussion group, that we discuss these things like negative emotions, and also bodhicitta, like that was the homework that they kind of were looking at bodhicitta. What is bodhicitta? How does one develop it? So we will talk about this today also, and we are in chapter 6 of this Bodhicharyavatara, which is patience. And so I'm not so sure, where you are standing with your practice, because when people hear patience, they hear like, oh, you're not allowed to, you're Buddhist, so you're not allowed to retaliate. You have to be very patient. You have to say yes all the time. You become a doormat. So it's absolutely not like this. It is. It's all about recognizing, what do I really want, really? What kind of person would I like to be? Recognize that we have an incredible potential of love, compassion, wisdom, connection, tolerance, but it needs to be developed. And we need to see the benefit of this, because otherwise, because it is really hard to develop it, because the habits usually go the other way. And it is like, when human beings, I think in general, we can talk like this, the happier a human being is, happy, again, happy is a dangerous word. Like when I talk about happy or joyful or being well, I mean absence of quite apparent suffering, when things are going the way we want them to go, when we are relaxed. Maybe relaxed is a better word. When we are relaxed and the mind is in a pretty neutral state, we are very nice and very decent people. Then we are very close to our nature. When somebody needs help, we help them. If somebody is well, we are happy to see that they are well. We're not being jealous. We're not getting angry, and these kind of things. So this is what it's good to see, and it's good to kind of start to have confidence that this is our true nature. But at the moment it is covered. It is covered by these emotions that we also need at moments. Like these emotions are, oh, now again, Tom, be careful. I have to be careful, because now I know that Tom is studying neuroscience. So these emotions, since millions of years, they are kind of, integrated in the brain somewhere, somehow. Don't know exactly where, but anyway. And we need them to survive also. So be careful, But the thing is, with these emotions, then we have reactions to certain situations that have become almost like impulses or instincts. And then we think they're natural and they're normal. And we totally forget we could also react in a different way. But just knowing intellectually that we can react in a different way, unfortunately, that's not going to help. So the whole thing about the Buddhist path is mind training, training your mind so that you can fulfill your wish to be free from suffering. And so, the Buddhist ways, it has kind of two vehicles. Sometimes talk about three vehicles, but let's look at the two vehicles. So one is, you want to liberate yourself from suffering. You are not going to be reborn under the control of your negative emotions, right? Because at the moment this is the Buddhist view. If you're not happy with it, it's totally fine with me. We can still be friends. You don't have to accept anything. But I have to give you the Buddhist view, because otherwise, even though people sometimes don't like this view, but this is it. So, and I'm not saying this is absolute truth. Yeah. For me, the Buddhist view, for me, it fits. This whole thing about rebirth, it definitely fits. That we are taking habits and potentials with us to our next life, be they positive or negative. For me, it totally fits. But for other people, it doesn't fit at all. So, and then you just take whatever fits for you, and the rest, well, you can leave it behind. So one goal is to understand why we suffer and why we are reborn again and again and again and again under the control of these negative emotions. And so you work, especially with negative emotions, you apply antidotes until you come down to the root, which is a wrong view about me, I, self, ego, whatever you want to call it, and the world itself, reality. Yeah, we have totally wrong views that reality exists out there from its own side. Out there, it is from its own side, good or bad. And we totally forget what I find is bad, somebody else finds it really good. And then we think, but it's truly good, it's truly bad. And we don't see impermanence. We kind of make everything permanent. And we don't really understand, I think, what brings happiness and what brings suffering, because we're not mindful enough. We're not enough in connection with what's going on inside of us. We're not. The mind is directed towards outside most of the time, also for our survival, or because we're interested, we have attachment, we're looking for nice things, we're trying to protect ourselves from danger things and so on. So we don't really know our inner world, and Buddhism is all about studying the inner world much more than the outer world. And the first thing that you're doing, the first things that you're doing, you look after your own mind. You start to understand what brings happiness, what brings suffering. You start to also understand how we ourselves, even though we don't want to, are caught up by our negative emotions. Yeah. So we start to work with those first, with our own ones. Then with time, with understanding, or like they say, the 3 steps, you listen to the teachings, you think about them, and you think very, very deeply. You reflect again and again and again and again. Does it make sense? Now, you see, with the Buddhist teachings, you don't have to like them, but they have to make sense for you. We can also, if we go to the doctor and he's giving us a diagnosis and, we don't like it, but it makes sense. If he explains why I have this pain here, and he says, well, your liver is this and this and this, it makes sense. I don't like it, but it makes sense. And then I have a choice. Either I accept it and I take the steps that I need and want to take in order to get rid of the pain, or I say, both, I don't like this. I just continue the way I am. So this is it. As I'm saying, you don't have to like the teachings, but you have to think about them. So you hear the teachings, and not just once, and not just one weekend, but again and again and again and again and again, the same teachings actually. And like this, especially for Noble Truths or the Graduated Path to Awakening and so on. And then with time, when we think about this, and by observing and by meditating on it also, then all of a sudden it does start to make more sense. Yeah, but already at the beginning, if at the beginning of of this whole thing of Buddhist teachings, you go like, you throw this out and you throw that out and you throw this out, when you're only keeping really what you like, then the picture that comes up is like, having a puzzle and then some pieces missing, and so on. So one of the goals is to liberate yourself from your negative emotions, and especially the wrong views, not intellectually, but how to say directly, that so that then we react like this. We act in a different way than when we think that we are separate from others. And this, you don't have to wait until you realize emptiness. This you can already see. When we understand how dependent we are on somebody, sensible people, they are quite nice to this person. People who are totally confused and deluded, they're even angry at those people. Yeah. And then making their job of trying to help us really, really difficult. But then, like ultimately the whole thing, when we see how connected we are to everything on this planet, and how especially dependent we are on other people for them to do their jobs, then slowly, we start to understand, oh, maybe not just my well-being, maybe not just my liberation from being under the control of negative emotions, maybe also so I know this path really well, and I have finished this path, I have gone on this path in order to be of benefit to other sentient beings as well. And then the goal is really big because it's all other sentient beings. And that's huge, you know, whether they're nice to you, whether they're not nice to you. Back to Michal is, yeah, right. Whether, so those people who joined a little bit later, Michal had to undergo surgery, so welcome back. Also, happy birthday to Noah. It's our birthday today, thanks to Facebook, I know. So there we go. So we wish you all the best, right? So not just the people that you don't choose anymore, which makes it very easy, yeah. And also, but then when you hear this, that you have to be to be a benefit for all sentient beings, I mean, then first we have to check, my gosh, you know, what does it do to us? How do we go like, yeah, great, you know, I really want to be a benefit to all sentient beings when you hear this for the first time. Does it make you afraid? Do you think like, wow, this is crazy, whatever, yeah? So actually thinking that this is crazy, if you hear this for the first time, in my eyes, this would be a normal reaction, yeah? And then slowly, if you still are interested in learning about your own mind and learning about your own causes, why you are suffering and all this, and then starting to reduce your own negative emotions, and then slowly, we start to understand this interconnectedness. We start to understand how we are dependent on others. We start to be, when we have less negative emotions, we start to be less self-concerned. And all of a sudden, you know, maybe the idea comes, oh, why not? And then you go in that direction. And this is the text that we are studying. It's from this part of the teachings where one not only wants to benefit oneself, but one wants to have a bodhicitta mind, the mind who wants to benefit all sentient beings. Yeah, so we usually start with a short, just mindfulness meditation, awareness meditation, because without this, unfortunately, we will not be able to transform our mind, because one really needs to see directly, being able to look inside, being able to have this introspection, that you understand on a deeper level, in the heart, not in the head, what brings suffering and what brings happiness. And one doesn't talk about, you know, happiness, yoo-hoo, everything is going well, but a kind of well-being where you become a non-nutnik. Yeah, like you're not so needy and you're not needing this and this and that, where you can happily give, where you can happily be there for others, when you come home, when you are happy with yourself, this kind of mind state, you know, that even things are not going the way you want them to go, even though even though you're depressed, but behind this, what is going on when we practice mindfulness? Because it's a mental factor of awareness, like a mirror who just sees whatever is there without judging. And this without judging part, that's probably the most difficult part, because we're so used to judge. Whatever feels pleasant, yeah. So when I talk about happiness, I'm not talking about pleasant. When I talk about suffering, I'm not necessarily talking about unpleasant. Yeah. So that's also one good thing to know, because we think, well, happiness, it has to feel pleasant. Not necessarily. You know, for example, after an operation, the suffering of the pain is much more painful than before the operation. But your attitude towards the pain is, you know, something has been done about this. And so you're totally okay with the pain. So pain or unpleasant is not equal to suffering in Buddhist terms. Because suffering can be also, pain can also be, we can learn a lot of things. It helps us to see that, oh, something is wrong, I need to do something about this, and so on and so forth. So the mindfulness is a mental state which just knows what's going on. And that mental state, when you are more or less, trained, you will discover this is a place where you can always go back to. And this place always is very spacious, is calm. It always feels the same. It's interested. There is no separate I from this kind of state, mindfulness, not going, oh, look at me, I'm wonderful, I'm mindful. It's just the observer, it's just observing. So once you get an experience of that, then your life becomes a lot easier, because you can be, totally over the mountains. You say no, over the hills, over the mountains. Can't remember how you say in English. My main language is Swiss German, so so you can be so totally excited that all is going well. The mindfulness that notices it is always the same. Calm, open, spacious, not moving, basically. You can be totally depressed and full of fear and full of distress or lamentation, whatever. The mindfulness who notices it is always the same. And then I don't have to identify with these very agitated mind states. I can identify with this calm, open space. And this space you can always go back to once you know and once you trust it. So this is why it's really, really, it's really beneficial to train just to sit and watch what's going on. And when the mind is all over the place, we give it the breath as an anchor so that it can kind of anchor itself. It can rest on the breath. So it has something to watch, as, Mingyur Rinpoche says. I think I showed you the video the other day, where he says we can meditate anytime. We just need to be aware, because our mind is like a monkey going blah, 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 all the time, having opinions, making judgments, all these kinds of things. And so you need, in order for it to calm down, because in order to see the things as they are, the mind needs to be calm. You should never start to make big decisions when you're agitated. It's no point, because you only see, through a tunnel, and then you never see the whole picture. So in order for the mind to calm down, it's very good to give it an object, to give it a job, and you tell it, now you stay with your breath. And you become aware, directly when you're breathing in that you're breathing in, and when you're breathing out that you are breathing out. So we will do this for a short while, maybe 5 minutes. And then also very important in all the Buddhist practices, we check our motivation, why we are joining this class, because your motivation will get you where you want to go. So if you limit it just for a little bit knowledge about Buddhism, that's where it will stay. If you go to, I want to try this out, I want to be able to practice, then it will get you there. If you go like, I want to be of benefit to the people that meet me or that I meet and all this, that's where it will take you. If you go, I'm joining this class because I want to fully develop my potential of universal wisdom, compassion, loving kindness and connectedness, that's where it will take you. Yeah, so it's, don't limit yourself. I know at the beginning when I did my first course, I kept complaining because it was in Kopan, it was in Nepal, it was a 1-month course, and they kept talking about enlightenment. And I said, well, I just want to be a bit of a happier person. I don't want to get enlightened. What are you talking about? And then, but even though, it didn't take very long. And then I went like, why not? Why not go for the best? Why limit myself to just be happy, which is not possible? This is what the Buddha says. In samsara, if we keep our negative emotions, our destructive emotions, then there will be no happiness, lasting happiness. There will be moments of happiness, but not lasting happiness. Okay, So this is what we'll do. We do 5 minutes. I just let you sit in a relaxed way, but with a straight back. Like, you know, they talk about relaxed, but awake, alert, right? So make sure your body is relaxed while you're settling into the posture, and then you can use your breath. And with each out breath, you think that your body is becoming relaxed, open, spacious. Like this, you can let go of all tensions. No need to hold them, especially in your face. So for that already, we need awareness. You need to look, not just an idea about being tense, but really looking. Am I relaxed? Am I tense? Maybe taking a deep breath in and then a long breath out where you think, oh, no need to be tense. No need to hold anything, just the spine who holds the upper body, and it's the earth who is supporting the lower part of the body, supporting me. Don't need to hold anything. And then maybe to have a sensation of nothing to do, nothing to achieve. When you know that everything you wanted to do is done, no need to make plans for the future. No need to kind of hang around in the past, but just to be present. So pleasant, because happiness is only to be found in the present. But you don't have to find it, okay? Don't go look for it. And let that kind of thought, nothing to do, just to be present. This is so simple because it's the nature of awareness to know. So we don't need to add anything. So relaxing. But stay awake. Interested in your mind state. And so try to bring that thought, nothing to do, from your head into your heart so that you understand. The mind starts to freak out because it wants to do something. Don't worry, you can tell it, oh, just a few minutes, let's try. Nothing to figure out. And then bring friendliness into this exercise, valuing yourself that you're doing this. And then slowly, slowly, you let your awareness, rest on your breath. Just very simply knowing that you're breathing in when you're breathing in and knowing that you're breathing out when you're breathing out. And we do this for, I won't tell you how many minutes because otherwise you start to check your watch. Don't worry, I will know when to finish. I will ring the gong. So just be and experience without judging as much as possible. Or at least when your mind goes, oh, good, or oh, bad, at least to see we're constantly commenting on what is happening. Okay, and then it could be that just through this very short exercise, the mind becomes calm and clear. And then you check your motivation for joining this class. What's the reason? And it's a good way to think about our values that we have, values like kindness, compassion, wisdom, being well connected, tolerance, generosity, ethical conduct, non-harming, non-needy, non-confused. Then we think, this is what I want to be able to live. I know that I have these potentials because at moments they are there. There's moments where we're very generous, very tolerant, very feeling very connected to others, and we can forget about ourselves. So I want this not just to be moments. Highest motivation would be, I want to become like a fully awakened being who uninterruptedly, spontaneously, and effortlessly lives these values. And be able to, for the benefit of all sentient beings, to be able to develop these qualities as well. Actually, we don't have to develop them, we just have to discover them. Another motivation would just be that I become kind of a kinder person to my family, my friends, my colleagues at work. And then, of course, you know, if you think I'm doing that just for myself, that is totally legal, but it's very limited. Because if we look, you know, we're just one person in this universe, one. And there are so many others. So people are very selfish. No wonder that they're not happy. Because all of a sudden they become very lonely and very isolated. So really check. What is my motivation for joining this evening talk or discussion group? And then if spontaneously you have a thought, oh, I'm doing this for myself, as I said, this is fine. But it's good to kind of expand it a little bit. And then thinking, if I am happy, it will be better for the people around me. Because it's when I'm not happy, when I'm angry, when I suffer, when I'm jealous, that then there's a big chance that I will make them suffer as well. And then maybe to try to be aware of the difference when we do something just for ourselves and when we do something when we can include others. Okay, thank you. So usually for those people who are new, it's 2 people, yeah, that I usually give homework, like things to think about. Very often it's about checking their emotions and trying to apply antidotes or just observing. Last time it was a bit of a intellectual exercise. It was, I said, read up on bodhicitta, what bodhicitta is. Now, did anybody do this? Or is anybody so familiar with bodhicitta already that they will be able to explain? Because as I said, you know, this text, which has 10 chapters, we are in chapter 6, is a guide to somebody who wants to have bodhicitta, for somebody who wants to be a bodhisattva. So who is a bodhisattva? Who wants to give it a try? We can go back to silent meditation if you want.
Well, a bodhisattva is someone that has a bodhicitta mind.
Yeah.
That means that you want to be enlightenment for the all sentient beings equally, and you want to take care of them spontaneously, and effort, without any effort.
Yeah, that will be a Buddha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that's for the all people.
For all, not just all people, for all
sentient beings.
Yeah, so that's clear. Yeah, so it's very good. This is exactly the definition of a bodhisattva. It's not just somebody who has a good heart and helps others until he or she burns out. This is not a bodhisattva. Okay, that is somebody who has a lot of compassion. Yeah, or they don't need to burn out in order to have compassion. So it's also people who have a lot of wise compassion, who know how to look after themselves so that they can be of benefit to others. And when they feel that, oh, this is too much, and then they go back and start to try to recover and look after themselves, and then they go and do their job again. It's not a social worker also. Okay, so be careful, because sometimes when we see somebody who's very kind and always ready to help, always ready to give a helping hand, and then we say, oh, he or she is such a bodhisattva. This we don't know, because we don't know if what they're doing this just because their compassion is moving them, or because they want to create the causes to become a Buddha, in order then to have the capacity of a Buddha to help all sentient beings. And the capacity of a fully awakened being compared to our capacity, even if you would have, I don't know how many PhDs and be professor of, Peace Nobel Prize or other Nobel Prizes, the capacity of a fully awakened being is nothing compared to ours. And it might sound a little bit strange that the only normal mind is the mind of a fully awakened being. All of us others here, we are neurotic, crazy, confused. You see, when you have somebody that they are, diagnosed psychotic or whatever other mental sicknesses you can have, and they behave in a strange way, you understand why they are behaving in such a strange way, because they have been diagnosed with whatever they have. Yeah, and you have compassion for them. You're not getting angry. But then you see yourself as normal compared to that person, because that person is even more confused than we are. Yeah. But we are, if we take a Buddha, if we take a fully awakened being, we ourselves, we are also confused because we don't see reality as it is. Yeah. We have this dualistic thinking that the things out there are the way they are, and it's not just a projection of my mind. We also feel or are convinced that I have a separate me or I, that you might call it ego or self or I, or however you want to call it. But the definition of this is it is permanent, it is independent, and it's only one thing. And it feels like this. We experience it like this, especially when we have like, in danger, or not even when danger, when we are in danger, but we are not kind of making a split between the situation and me, we react really well. When we don't have time to think about this, like when your car in Switzerland, when there's snow and your car is sliding on the snow or the ice, you react in a really good way because you don't think. Yeah. But when there is a split, when it's, this is so dangerous, and there's this big I in here, then we usually overreact or something like that. We're not reacting so well anymore. And we also have this thing that we distinguish between beings. We go like, this one deserves to be happy. This one, most of the beings on this planet, I don't care. It's not my responsibility. And some few ones we go, whoa, this one should definitely not be happy. Yeah, we make this split and we freeze the people into, we make black lines into around these three categories. This is deserve to be happy. This because they're victims, they're the poor guys, they're the good guys, whatever. These the bad guys. Oh no, they should not be happy. They should suffer. And for the majority, how can I care? Why would I care? Yeah. So like this. Now, a Buddha's mind is not like this. And that is our confusion, that we think some deserve to be happy and some deserve to be suffering. And we're totally convinced. We're totally convinced that our way of thinking is right, isn't it? Maybe not intellectually, but gut feeling down here, when somebody who is a bad person suffers, how much compassion do you have? You see, there's always one or maybe sometimes two people who say, oh, I have a lot of compassion because I see that it's a ripening of karma, and now the person is in danger because they suffered to create more negative karma, la, la, la. It's always one person who says that. Usually it's those people who speak up. But for the majority of us, how much, if that person is not your son or your daughter or your mother or your father or, a good friend of yours, yeah, there maybe we start to have compassion. Yeah, especially when it's one of your children and you see them, they are creating so many negativities. Yeah, but you still want them to be happy, even if they deal drugs, or even if they, I don't know, steal, or even if they lie all the time, or even if, what else do children do sometimes? That you wouldn't approve in another person. I'm not saying you should approve the action, but I'm saying your love for them, your wish for them to be happy is still there. For a few people, we have it, yeah? So, but the Buddhas, the fully awakened beings, they have it for all sentient beings. And this is what the Bodhisattva is training. So the first step that the Bodhisattva is has to be in his mind, in his attitude, has to be clear about, this is what I want. I want to see all sentient beings the same way I see my children. If they are doing something really stupid that will create suffering for themselves and others, if I can prevent it, I will prevent it. I will stop them. If I cannot stop them, because not every mother or father can stop their children to do stupid things, because otherwise we wouldn't have any criminals. I don't think parents encourage their children to become criminals and say, oh, that's the really good, quick way of earning money, unless you're maybe a mafia boss. I don't know. Then you probably teach your children these things. I'm not sure, but, maybe not even then. Maybe the mafia, at least the mafia mother, is thinking that, if only they would stop killing and stealing and stuff like that. So, but the wish for their happiness is always there, isn't it? But when it's somebody that is that our mind, you see, I don't have any children, but I know that many people who listen to me do have children. Would you ever label your child as a bad person? Netta? Never, isn't it? Even if they kill somebody, you would be able to separate the action from the person. The action is definitely negative. You're not going to say, oh yeah, wow, my son is so tortured, so courageous, they killed somebody. You wouldn't go like this. You would feel terrible about the act, but you would still want to protect the person. You would still want the person to be happy. You would still want definitely a person to stop killing others. But do we label other people as bad people? Yes or no? Bad from the, definitely not. What Joyce? Definitely not what? Your children or other people? Do we, the children, yeah, exactly, thank you. That's what I suspected. I don't even need to have children to know that you wouldn't label them bad. But what about, you can write it in the chat if you want, if you feel more comfortable. You can even write it in Hebrew and then somebody will translate it for me. Do we have this open heart, wanting lasting happiness for all sentient beings? Hagar is a little bit maybe nodding.
I think that we're all children. I mean, even if it's not your children, even if we're adults, we're all children. We are all the same. Every person. I think I told about this before. When I was in the monastery, I forgave my rapists and all the people who I mean, I can even forgive Bibi. I can even forgive Trump. I can even forgive those people because they have the suffering. They are suffering of their own bad karma more than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
fantastic. Hagar.
Because they are children and they deserve
They're
the same
confused.
compassion as everyone.
Yeah.
So there's no reason when we label them as bad. It's just, you know, stooping to their level.
Exactly.
You know.
So that's the attitude. This is the attitude that we want to develop. Now, not everybody as Hagar has developed it because I'm trying to go in the same way as Hagar. Sometimes I succeed. Very, very few times I don't succeed, and I do get angry, and I don't really give a damn whether this person is happy or not. And when I see that they are happy, I even start to get jealous sometimes. So then I need to transform this whole thing. So this is where I'm at. So some other people maybe are at the same point. Otherwise, you know, if you're all at Hagar's point of view, then that's fine. Hartmut, if you or Hardy, you prefer to be called Hardy?
I mean, that's just for the non-German persons because Hartmut is sometimes a little bit difficult. So I found out,
Yeah,
I mean, for you, Hartmut is fine.
So you don't have to raise your hand. You can just say what you
for example, what I think Hagar was it, I like, I have the same feelings most of the time. I mean, somebody like Trump was the perfect teacher not to hate him somehow as a person. I mean, his actions were, I think, really 100% bad, or I don't see the positive ones. But it is quite simple not to hate these all persons where I think they make bad sense, because to hate feels so bad. I mean, it's a kind of the Dalai Lama sometimes says to, if you are egoistic, be smart egoistic. It's a kind of cleanness in my heart. If I see a bad action, it's a bad action, but never the person. It's so nice to wish all persons to be happy. It's somehow a very simple wish, and it's much more healthy than to hate them. Yeah, somehow like that. I mean, the Buddhist view is very helpful, healthy.
Okay, great. Thank you, Hardy, because you took away my next question. It's like the next question would have been, what do you think feels better? You know. So there you go. So Hardy gave us the answer. Do you agree? Now is the discussion. Do you agree? I totally agree. This is why I'm a Buddhist nun. This is why in 30 years, I'm trying to transform my mind into some kind of bodhicitta. You know, I'm still kind of preparing, but I see this as a very, very, very inspiring goal to have that kind of mind. Yeah. And as I'm saying, you know, especially people like Bibi and Trump, I mean, they're so far away. It's for me, those ones are very easy. Yeah, somebody who's here and doesn't do what I want them to do. That is more difficult. Even though it's much less what they are doing, you know, it's less harmful or whatever, but there sometimes to have to totally open heart and wish them happiness and success. It comes again, you know, when I have these negative emotions and I start to read these verses, this is why these verses are for, then I go like, yeah, of course, this is what I want. So do other people who maybe are not so familiar with this view of bodhicitta what do you think about this whole thing?
Can I ask a question, Anilos?
Yeah, always.
Okay. Is there a Buddha, but an enlightened Buddha, omniscient mind, which is not Bodhisattva?
No.
There is not.
I mean, the Buddhas are because there are bodhisattvas. Unless you go into, now this is philosophy kind of thing. You know, there's also the Pratyeka Buddhas and the Shavaka Buddhas and the Pratyeka Buddhas. There are liberated beings, there are arhats from the Pali vehicle, like self-liberation vehicle, okay? So they never went on a bodhisattva path, but still they are liberated from suffering, but they wouldn't be called a Buddha. They would be called an arhat, although one calls them Pratyeka Buddhas, because they don't have the capacities of a Buddha. So there are two obstacles that we have. One obstacle is the obstacle for liberation. When we have this obstacle of liberation, we get, whether we want or not, again, Buddhist view, reborn again and again and again and again under the control of our negative emotions. You know, the same way as if somebody kind of talks to you, the way you respond or react, you have no choice. It can be with affection, it can be with anger, it can be with jealousy, it can be with annoyance, it can be with frustration, it can be with stress. You have absolutely no choice. That's what I mean, being under the control of our negative emotions. Then when you are mindful, you can change it sometimes. Yeah, if it's not so strong. If we catch it at the beginning, we can change it. But what arises the first moment, we have no control. And you don't know what will arise. You know, sometimes you will be surprised yourself. Oh, I didn't get angry. Dalit is not here today. When she said, you know, I was in this traffic jam for a few hours and I was so surprised I didn't get angry. So sometimes we can even be, or like me, sometimes also, I feel hot rising here, anger rising, and I'm really surprised. And then I don't talk. I don't, of course, not act with the body, and I just go, hey, what's going on? You know, and then already I made the step out of the anger by seeing that, anger is in the mind, you know, not to immediately start to react. And then the response is more or less polite. Kind, maybe would be a bit exaggerated, but it can change into kindness. And I have this confidence that I can dissolve any anger, but it sometimes really lasts a long time, you know. But people I had aversion for, I was until now really able to dissolve that aversion. But then somebody else comes, you know, and then again I have to start this again. So that means under the control of negative emotions. I can't choose my first reaction. I have no choice. So these are the obstacles to liberation. We get reborn again and again and again and again in samsara, in what is called samsara, cyclic existence. But then we have, so that will get eliminated through the three higher trainings: ethical conduct, concentration, wisdom. The wisdom of seeing emptiness directly, which only comes through concentration. Concentration will only come through ethical conduct. If you're somebody who's very unethical, there's no way you will be able to have shamatha, like a single pointed mind, for a few hours in a row. Like, you know, almost again, naturally. Yeah, you decide to do shamatha, you sit down, you let your mind rest on the object, it will just stay there like a well-trained dog that you say, sit, and the dog sits, relaxed, he's happy. He just waits for his next command. He's not tense, you know, he just waits if the dog is well-trained. So, but then in order to become a Buddha, you need to practice what is called the 6 perfections. Yeah, like first you develop bodhicitta, you say, my own liberation is not good enough. I want to attain full awakening. But now again, be careful. You know, when they talk about the lower vehicle or the Hinayana vehicle or the Theravadin vehicle, or His Holiness now is talking about the Pali tradition, because all these methods there are in Pali language. Yeah, like Theravadin, it's like Thailand, Burma, Laos, Sri Lanka, these places. So the teachings were in Pali, whereas then the Bodhisattva vehicle, the Mahayana vehicle, the higher vehicle, and it's not higher because you're a better person or whatever, it's higher because the goal is much higher, because it's not just your liberation from samsara, it is the liberation of all sentient beings. Okay, so first you need to want that, and this is what is called developing bodhicitta. Yeah. Which then you go through steps, like first you work a lot on equanimity, that all beings have a right to be happy. Then you start to see the disadvantage of your self-cherishing. then in order to lessen that, me first kind of feeling, then we meditate on the kindness of others, like how much we receive from others, like that, how dependent we are on others. Last time, do you remember we talked about when we become aware that we actually owe it to others to be kind to them, that we're constantly taking, and that's why we're not happy, because there's so much, we're not equal in giving and taking, which is most of the time taking. People say, oh, I'm paying for it. Yeah, but where does the money come from? Also comes from others, So anyway, so then you see the disadvantage of self-cherishing, that we create all our negative karma, all our negative emotions come when we just think about ourselves. Yeah, when our heart is closed and only me. Then you start to equalize yourself with others, and you go, just give me one good reason that my happiness is more important than somebody else's happiness that I'm not interested in. You see, we have this kind of automatic pilot that we totally believe that this is a valid reason, that is a valid thing, that my happiness is more important than the happiness of somebody I don't know. But give me one good reason. There's none. But we act with this kind of attitude, especially when we're not well. Yeah, if you have objections, then just say so, yeah, because again, this discussion group. So
I found it difficult when, for example, I now have my third child, and it's a small baby, and it's not sleeping. So generally, I'm not sleeping enough, and I found it extremely difficult when you are completely tired to act accurate. I generally try to act not. That's even better than to do anything. But then usually I try, if I have a problem with something, I try to speak to somebody, and I still wish that this person is happy, but I say, I don't like that, what you did there, or and I try to get, but if then the person is not reacting in a quiet way, I feel directly over, it's too much.
Yeah, so this is good. This is what I'm saying. You see, we when people are very far away, Trump, BB, whatever, compassion comes very easy. But with the ones that we have that are not doing what we want them to do, is very, very difficult. So this is where we start to equalize. And Heidi, at the beginning of this class, we started about a year ago, and we only did 83 verses. So you see at the pace that we're going here, very slow. So we talked about, people kind of shared with each other when they are getting angry. And one of the things was also being tired, being stressed and being tired. So don't judge yourself, that we have zero compassion when we're tired and stressed. So it's good to see it, because when we see it in ourselves, we understand other people who don't respond well when we want something from them. And then we can go, equalizing ourselves with others. They're like me. They're also not patient when they're tired. They also don't want to listen because they don't want to admit that they made a mistake the same way as I do. They also get defensive. They also don't like criticism and like that, So when we come with telling somebody what they have to do, oh gosh, this is so difficult. So then best thing is you exchange yourself with the other person, and then you think, how would I want to be spoken to now in that moment? And do I really need to say something? But sometimes we don't even need to say. It's just because these people make us feel uneasy, and we think that by blurting out what we want to say, even if we, as I said, me also, I feel my anger, I still have to communicate. Okay, I'm polite, but I'm not kind. Yeah, I'm just polite because I'm Swiss, so we know, we're very good at these kind of hiding our emotions kind of thing. So we have to just admit, and we have to see. Sometimes also, bodhicitta is like, oh yeah, all mother sentient beings should attain enlightenment, but not this one who is making noise at 3 o'clock in the morning. Then it's not bodhicitta. You exclude one. It is not bodhicitta. Yeah. So I think it's really good to be honest and just to see where we are and to not to judge ourselves and to say, okay, I'm not there yet. The idea of bodhicitta, very nice, very beautiful, but I'm not quite there yet. And then when we see that we are having a problem, we take these verses, you know, that we are studying, and then, oh, I didn't open the text. I just noticed. Gosh, I tell you, my memory is getting, I was 5 minutes early today to start the class, and I was thinking, what did I forget? But I didn't, I couldn't remember. But anyway, I'll have it in a moment. So this is why we are studying these texts, so that we can always go back to it. And Shantideva is kind of talking to himself. Okay. Shantideva is kind of talking to himself when he has negative emotions arising, in order to use reasoning for the negative emotion to, you know, he's kind of debating with these negative emotions, because the negative emotions, they have opinions, isn't it? So, so this is why the text, for somebody who wants to be a bodhisattva, for somebody who wants to develop bodhicitta, is really valid or valuable or kind of very helpful. So we did, I think, these two verses, and it has to do, we did 82, yeah, and 83 actually goes together. And it gives us the good reason why. Oh, there's a few chats here. Do I need to read them? Just also big welcome back. Yeah, okay, definitely. Okay, that's good. If a relative for whom I'm caring and to whom I must give many things should be able to find his own livelihood, wouldn't I be happy rather than angry? So here, you know, the verses have to do with jealousy. When we are not allowing somebody to be, when we're not happy when somebody else is happy, like, and the next ones that come is especially about criticism and praise. Yeah. So when your children receive praise, you're very happy. Yeah. As a bodhisattva, you have developed a mind that everybody should be happy. So why be jealous when somebody is getting praise or whatever? And so 83 is kind of underlining that argument. If I do not wish for beings to have even this, like, you know, worldly happiness, because what we want to lead them to is a lasting happiness, the lasting happiness of enlightenment, totally free from all suffering, and having developed all the qualities of a Buddha, which I didn't mention also. But, you know, when we talked about the obstacles to liberation and then the obstacles to omniscience, because as a fully awakened, a fully enlightened being, you are omniscient and you have the skills to lead others to that same state. Yeah, and you have, of course, universal compassion, universal love, universal wisdom, and you're totally fearless, and you have no agenda, and you have, you know, that's it. And you have many capabilities also to manifest in different bodies. So that's another good thing. Yeah. So it sounds a bit like, how to say, science fiction, but maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. But, you know, we can always go for that. So when Netta was asking, like, if you want to become a fully awakened being with the qualities of a fully awakened being, you have to train as a bodhisattva, and training as a bodhisattva is the 6 perfections, which is generosity, ethical conduct, patience, this is where we're at now, then enthusiasm, never to give up, concentration, and wisdom. So when you look at these 10 chapters of the text, maybe I'll look at you again. When you look at these 10 chapters of the text, the first chapter is about the benefit of bodhicitta, like he's trying to sell it to himself, as Hardy was saying. But it will be good for you if you develop bodhicitta. So that's the first chapter. Then the second and the third chapter is that he's starting to prepare the mind. He has understood, this is a good thing. And then he's starting to do a lot of confession, for example, thinking about death a lot, doing a lot of offerings to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas in order to even out the mind, to prepare the ground that bodhicitta will be easier to develop, to be a bit more equanimous. So it's chapter 2 and 3. Then at the end of chapter 3, he takes the bodhisattva vows, like he makes a promise. Yes, I will work until all sentient beings have been totally awakened. He makes the vow. And then 4 and 5, it's about awareness and attentiveness, and that has to do with ethical conduct. Okay, like if you don't have mindfulness, your ethical conduct will not be pure. Right? So the seed of bodhicitta after the third chapter in this text has been planted, and now with awareness and mindfulness, he wants to keep it alive. And then chapter number 6, 7, 8 is how to increase it. And chapter 9 is all about emptiness, is about wisdom. This then Geshe-ma can teach you this. I won't be able to teach you, because you have to know all the ancient Indian philosophical system that get all kind of refuted. Anyway, but we're not there yet. It will take 10 years, and by then I'm probably demented and Alzheimer's, and I don't know, and I won't be able to teach anymore. So the seed of bodhicitta, like the wish to have bodhicitta, at the end, the decision to be a bodhisattva, to become a bodhisattva, at the end of chapter 3, then 4 and 5, how to not lose it because it's still very weak. You see, I had a friend of mine who is also a nun. She was telling the story that when she was young, she had planted a small, a seed of I think an acorn into the garden for it to grow into the lawn. But then whenever her father was kind of cutting the thing, then he was cutting the small sapling. So what she did, she built a fence around it. So the father had to go around it. And then she showed us the tree. Now she's a bit younger than me, she's 40. So she showed us the picture of that sapling 40 years later. So it was a fully grown tree. So if we do want to develop bodhicitta, we have to protect it, our very weak mind, that has compassion for the people who are far away, but it seems to have been difficult, not for everybody. I'm not talking in general here, this is very individual. As Hagar was saying, she was able to forgive her rapist. I mean, that's like, wow, and it's for her own peace of mind also. So it's like, but this is really, really, really big job. So we start small, we start much smaller than that. But in general, we have compassion when people do what we want them to do and when we are well. But when things are not going so well, then the compassion comes very, very, very difficult. So this is why we need the awareness of ethical conduct, not to create more negative karma that we plunge again into the lower states. And then is chapter 6, which is patient. 7th is enthusiasm. 8th is concentration. This is to increase it, to make the tree of bodhicitta grow. And then 9 is to come to the completion, like knowing about reality, wisdom, the wisdom of emptiness. And then chapter 10 is the dedication. Yeah, so this shows you how the text is kind of built up for people to become bodhisattvas. So if I do not wish for beings to have even this, like worldly happiness, receiving praise, how can I wish for them to awaken? How can I wish them to be totally free of all suffering? Yeah. And where is there an awakening mind? The awakening mind is bodhicitta. By the way, you don't have to say bodhicitta mind, because citta means mind and bodhi means awaken. Yeah, It's like saying chai tea. You know, chai means tea in Hindi. So it's like saying tea. So it's like if you say chai, that's enough. You don't need to say I want a chai tea. And you don't need to say bodhicitta mind. You can say the awakening mind, or the mind of awakening, or the mind of enlightenment. But when you use the word bodhicitta, then that's already, both of it is there. Bodhi means awakened, citta means mind. And where is there an awakening mind? Meaning, where is there a sentient being which has this attitude of leading everybody to that state? In him who becomes angry when others receive things. It's totally perverse, you know. This is like wanting your children to be happy, but then when they are happy, getting jealous and thinking and wanting to destroy their happiness. You know, you cannot have these two kinds of mind in your mind stream at the same time. So don't forget, you know, it talks about all sentient beings. You exclude one, as is, no bodhicitta. Then it's compassion. If you have, you know, a wish for so many beings to be free from suffering, but excluding some, then I don't want to think then it's no good anything. It's not good for nothing. It's still very good, you know. Better to have compassion for some than for nobody. Yeah. So I don't want to belittle that when people, you know, they just have compassion. There's no bodhisattvas. It's beautiful to be with people who have compassion, you know, even they don't know about bodhicitta and the whole thing. Okay, maybe let's do one verse at least. Oh no, this one we did. So that's clear, isn't it? Yeah. So he continues on how to develop patience when someone we dislike is praised or rewarded. And the next verses are all about this. How can we say we wanted people to be enlightened and not even give them a compliment? So this was one of the homeworks also. Remember that I said, try to praise somebody that you dislike, but please in a realistic way. Don't lie. Because, you know, there is nobody who has only bad sides, and there's nobody who has only good sides. Okay, so we can always, if we try a little bit, we can always find good sides in somebody. So then this is very difficult, you know, to point out to somebody that we dislike to say, oh, you did this really well, when they did it well. Yeah. And then to train that, to make an effort to do this. So there is no more important practice than dealing honestly and sensibly with the irritations that preoccupy us in our everyday life. Because otherwise we might think we're so wonderfully compassionate, you know. So even if you have forgiven somebody who has harmed you in a very bad way, but you get angry at your neighbor and you don't want your neighbor to be happy because they have parties until 3 o'clock in the morning, it's not bodhicitta. Yeah. So it's good to be, I think it's really good to be realistic. Okay, 84. What does it matter if my enemy is giving something or not? Here's one word missing maybe. What does it matter if my enemy is given something or not? Whether he obtains it or whether it remains in the benefactor's house, in either case, I shall not get anything. Can you relate to this? Do we, when we feel jealous about somebody who has received praise, success, money, famous, diplomas, the good job, the partner I wanted, you know, do we not feel sometimes jealous? Think they don't deserve it? And we even get angry? Do you know, when I talk about jealousy, do you know what I'm talking about? Or is it a word that is for you, just a word, but absolutely no experience behind it?
I think that there's many kinds of jealousy, there's the worst case and there's the lighter. Because sometimes I'm jealous when someone goes to India to retreats or something, but I'm happy also for them.
Okay.
And I think the worst kind is wanting to ruin something that someone has.
Yeah,
and
that's
to
what he's
destroy
talking.
and
That's what he's talking about here, you know, not being happy. You know, we can still say, oh, I wish I could go also, but you're happy for them that that they go, because anger and being angry at somebody and being happy for somebody is totally contradicting. You cannot have both at the same time. Yeah. So the question is, you know, do we have that sometimes? Do we have that jealousy when somebody is given something that we think they don't deserve it? You know, like the case here would be, of course, like Shantideva, he was a monk, he was in a monastery, and usually monks and nuns, they don't earn money, you know. I mean, I'm not going somewhere and say, yeah, I'll give courses, but you need to pay me that amount. It's like we are totally dependent on donations. So what if I, you know, so maybe in the monastery also, so they had benefactors. So sometimes in the monasteries, the monks have personal benefactors. Like you, as a benefactor, you would take care of one monk or one nun, you know, to make sure they had to eat, they had clothes, they had medicines when they needed it, and they had what else? Shelter. Yeah, so these are the four necessities. So what if you see that this other monk that, you know, you work like mad, and the other one monk next to you, he has a very rich benefactor who's very generous, and his own benefactor maybe is not so generous, then you could get angry. This is what he's talking about. And he is arguing with himself. Look, whether this neighbor monk of yours is getting a lot or nothing, for you, it doesn't make a difference. Yeah, this is why it says, you know, you are getting jealous now here. Yeah, you think that the other person does not deserve it, but what does it matter if the one I don't like is given something or not? Whether he obtains it or whether it remains in the benefactor's house, in either case, I shall not get anything. Is our jealousy that we have sometimes so reasonable?
There's a nice saying from Eckhart from Hirschhausen. He says once, how can I make you unhappy with giving you $10? And everybody says, no, with $10, great. If I give everybody else $20.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And that's it.
In the Spiegel, it's a German magazine who used to have, I don't know, I haven't read it for years, but I used to read it. And there was a very an amazing research that they gave children, like some children they gave, you know, 3 sweets, and some other children they gave 5 sweets. Until they were about 2.5 years old, it didn't matter. They were happy with their 2 sweets and these one. From 3 years old, they already got upset that the other one had gotten more. With grown-ups, they made this experiment. They said it's quite cruel, but this is how many people are, and we have to check whether maybe we go in that category as well. They said, like, you get, like, I can't remember how much, 5,000 euro, but the person you dislike gets 10,000. Now, if you don't want the person to get 10,000, then you also don't get anything. So quite a few people said, okay, then I don't want anything, because they couldn't bear that this other person they disliked got 10, like double. Yeah. So in German also, maybe we should start talking German with Hardy. So in German also there's a saying, anybody speaks German? Maybe we can try to translate it with the help of Hardy, because it's really good. Eifersucht ist die Leidenschaft, die mit Eifersucht was Leiden schafft. So jealousy is the passion. You see, with German, it works really well because it's the same words. So jealousy is the passion that looks for, that is addicted to look for what is creating suffering. And you see, the word passion in German is Leidenschaft. And actually the word itself says that which creates suffering. And passion, passione, in Latin, it means strong emotion. Yeah, we use passion for something positive in English, but actually it's suffering when you're not calm anymore. So jealousy is the mind that is actively looking for something to make you unhappy. That's what jealousy is all about. Yeah. And so Jantideva was trying to argue with himself by saying, hey, it won't give you anything. You're a double loser, because one thing is your neighbor has much more than you have, and you are not getting anything, but you're getting angry, so you can't enjoy what you have. Yeah. So in case we have some listeners here who from time to time feel jealous and cannot rejoice about the happiness of somebody else when you see them receiving praise, material goods, affection, what else? What else could we get jealous about? Good looks, you know, like you are trying to lose a few kilos and you never succeed, and all of a sudden this other one, you know, comes 10 kilos lighter. Can you be happy? You maybe say, wow, you lost a lot of weight. But inside, oh, I'm sure she's going to put it on right away again, like we do, isn't it? So to really, that's the homework, you know, to really, really watch that snake. When you look at Tara practice, and Tara practice has like, you know, talks about 8 fears. And one of the 8 fears is jealousy, and it is compared to a snake. And the snake, and then the verse that there is the snake who lurks in its dark pit, kind of waiting to shoot out and spread its poison because it cannot bear the happiness of others. So try to see it maybe next week. It would be nice if somebody has seen it, because otherwise, you know, if everybody is so realized, we have nothing to discuss. So try to see it and try to apply antidotes. Maybe just this verse, maybe just this sentence. Does it take anything away from the other person? And does it give something to me? Or does it actually take away my ability to rejoice in what I have? Okay, I'll show you the verse again, maybe. What does it matter if the person I don't like, because it is about people we don't like. And this is where we have to work at as bodhisattvas. We have to work at having to be happy when people we dislike, even if it's only little dislike, when they get what they want. Yeah. Or when they're given something. What does it matter if my enemy is given something or not? Whether he obtains it or whether it remains in the benefactor's house, the person who gives the gift. In either case, I shall get nothing. Yeah. Just this one thing. What does it help? Does it make me happier? And to really explore that mind of jealousy. How does it feel? You know, how do I look? When I look at my beautiful things, can I enjoy them? No. Do I want to live with the rest of my life with this kind of mind? It is such a habit. It's so strong. And it really makes us not be able to have happiness. Okay. Great. Thank you very much. So again, you know, the time is up. We haven't done any loving kindness, so we'll do it now. A few minutes. If you need and want to go, that's fine. But it is so good for your heart, the physical heart and the spiritual heart, to send out love and compassion and concern. Okay? So again, first we do it. I see Hagar is writing something. Maybe she's writing it to me. Yeah. Gratitude eliminates jealousy immediately. Yeah, but it is so difficult sometimes. You see, again, all these wonderful methods, intellectually, they work great. You know, we say, yeah, this is fantastic. Then when it comes to the situation, then is the trial. Does it work or does it not work? And for me, sometimes it doesn't work, you know. I feel very, very, I find it difficult sometimes to feel gratitude when somebody is getting something that I think they don't deserve it. It doesn't happen often, but when it happens, blimey, it's really strong, you know, and I need a lot of, you know, also, I have to be careful with the gratitude because then I feel guilty about being jealous. You know, I feel stupid. Yeah, Elisheva, did you want to say something?
Yes, just to share.
Yeah, okay.
As you already know, my son is a soldier. He's a combat officer soldier. So today he sent me, he got an outstanding soldier. So there will be a ceremony and he will be, and he sent me some invitation and I looked at, I saw a sentence, you know, the armies from the army. איך אומרים כישרון?
Talented, gifted.
Talent. The talent to overcome fear originate in the love of others, in love of others. I couldn't believe I see it. I couldn't believe. the talent to overcome fear originate in love of others.
Totally. Yeah, totally. It's so true. But then in the love of all others. Yeah, this is another thing. Yeah. So, okay. So let's just, you know, let's sit again and be very happy that we are not so overcome by jealousy. And if we are overcome by jealousy, then at least, you know, we have antidotes to deal with it, like this one. What does it help, you know, to calm ourselves down? But then again, we should think with the loving kindness, may I be safe. May I be protected from physical and mental harm, and especially harming myself with these unhelpful attitudes of jealousy, anger, arrogance, attachment, greed, poverty syndrome, and so on. May I be protected from physical and mental harm and from my unhelpful emotions taking over. May I have a heart that is free, spacious, open, courageous, loving, and free from fear. And may I be able to live my life with joy and ease in all situations. So then when you have these thoughts and they're really, really sincere, you might get a sensation in your upper body. And this is our goodness. This is our quivering, open heart who wants to manifest. So you can visualize it as a source of light, a light ball, and you let it grow so that it can fill your whole body to the tips of your hair down to your toes. And your body becomes a body of light with all this goodness inside, all the awakened compassion, love, connectedness, wisdom that we have, which is our nature. And then as it is with light, it just radiates out in all directions. to the east, to the south, to the north, to the west, above and below.
Look, look.
In all directions. And we think it brings happiness, it brings safety, it brings connectedness, it brings understanding, wisdom, the knowing what brings happiness and what brings suffering to all sentient beings. And we send it with that thought, may all beings be safe. May all beings be protected from physical and mental harm. And may all beings' hearts be open, spacious, courageous, connected, free from fear, and healthy. And may all beings be able to live their lives with joy and ease. That this wish comes really genuine, no matter who they are, whether they like me or dislike me. But may whoever comes in contact with me, whoever thinks of me, talks to me, sees me, might only be of benefit to them. That's the purpose of my life. So we dedicate all the positive energy that we have generated, and it's a lot, talking about bodhicitta. This is so healing, it's so beneficial, it's so wonderful. So all the positive energy that came this evening from talking about these things, may it contribute to that goal that we all understand suffering and the causes of suffering, so that we are all able to eliminate all suffering and all causes of suffering to all sentient beings. Okay. Thank you very much for joining me in the discussion. Enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of the week, and homework, yeah. Try to find somebody don't try to find somebody. If you have absolutely no moments of jealousy, then that's perfect. If yes, then try to apply some antidotes. Maybe you'll find some other antidotes, as Hagar was saying, gratitude. Yeah, hi Hardy. I think slowly, I start to understand that you're from Munich, isn't it? Yeah.
Somehow I am from Munich. Walter gave me that link, and we saw each other like 25 years ago in Tushita and in Hamburg and in some places.
Right. Okay. So you have a new baby, you say?
Yes.
How many altogether by now?
By now 3.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
Yes.
You fit in well in the Israeli group because they all have at least 3 children, most of them. This is the minimum in Israel, isn't it? No, Hagar says no.
In Germany, it's somehow not standard. I'm a little bit, 3 kids.
They go like, what, 3? Okay, yeah. I'm just generalizing, so it's okay. I know there's always exceptions. So I wish you a joyful, easy week as much as possible, but still some kind of food for thought and for practice, because that's how we train the mind, if we work with it. So everything is welcome. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Same to you.
Please
Thank you. Keep safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night,
Thank you for
everybody.
participating. Thank you for everything. And welcome to everyone. And see you next week, hopefully, all of you. Have a nice week.
Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you so much, everyone.